Canada has just detonated a political bomb, and the shockwaves are rattling every bar, liquor store, and household across the country. What started as a so-called bold move by Prime Minister Mark Carney has turned into chaos that nobody in Ottawa seems able to control. And the symbol of this crisis, Jack Daniel's, the legendary Tennessee whiskey, gone from Canadian shelves, yanked overnight in an act of retaliation that was supposed to show strength against Trump's tariffs. Instead, it is exposing weakness, confusion, and the total miscalculation of a government desperate to look tough but delivering only pain to its own people. Think about it. Every single province in Canada said no to American alcohol. Liquor boards didn't hesitate. They wanted to send a message, a unified middle finger to Washington. But did anyone actually think through what this would mean on the ground? Did anyone in Carney's circle stop to ask, how will this affect regular Canadians? Small bars, restaurants, the distributors who keep supply chains moving? Nope. Instead, they went all in on political theater, hoping the headlines would scream, Canada stands strong. And sure, they got headlines, just not the ones they wanted. The press is already calling this a disaster. Social media feeds are flooded with Canadians furious, mocking, and downright bewildered at a boycott that stripped their shelves bare. Jack Daniel's was the first casualty, one of America's most iconic exports. Instantly gone. For many Canadians, waking up to find their favorite whiskey vanished wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a gut punch. This wasn't some abstract trade war playing out in the background. It was personal. It was in their local liquor store, in their favorite bar, on the shelves of their own kitchens. And here's the kicker. The maker of Jack Daniel's, Brown-Forman, says Canada is only 1% of their global sales. To them, this boycott is a nuisance, maybe even an afterthought. But to Canadians, it's a full-blown crisis. A government stunt meant to look strong abroad has become a humiliation at home. Within days, the cracks started to show. Bars couldn't fill orders. Customers were storming liquor stores only to leave empty-handed. Substitute brands, domestic alternatives. Forget it. They couldn't fill the void. People didn't want knockoff bottles or weak replacements. They wanted the real thing. And suddenly, it was gone. And while Canada fumbled with its shelves, Donald Trump was enjoying a very different morning. From his perspective, the tariffs were working exactly as planned. He didn't need to lift a finger. He didn't need to say a word. Every photo of empty shelves in Canada told the world the same story. America has the upper hand, and Canada is falling apart. The contrast is brutal. Trump, calm, controlled, sipping whiskey in the White House. Carney, angry, flailing, trying to explain away a decision that is blowing up in his face. What was supposed to be Canada's big counterpunch is now a clear backfire. Instead of standing tall, Canada looks weak, disorganized, and frankly desperate. And Canadians feel like pawns in a game they never signed up for. They're paying the price for Carney's tantrum, and they know it. Let's be clear. This isn't just about whiskey. Every empty bottle on those shelves tells a bigger story about power, credibility, and competence. When the shelves go bare, it's not just liquor disappearing, it's confidence in leadership. It's faith in government. It's the feeling that the people in charge don't actually understand the consequences of their actions. And right now, Canadians are realizing that their government didn't think this through at all. Brown-Forman, Jack Daniel's parent company, didn't mince words. They called Canada's response worse than a tariff. What? Because a tariff still lets you sell, even if at a higher price. But this is outright elimination. It's ripping products off the shelves entirely. It's destruction of a market overnight. And while Brown-Forman can absorb the loss, they're a global giant. Local Canadian businesses can't. Bars, distributors, store owners, they're already warning of layoffs, lost revenue, and in some cases bankruptcy. A move that was supposed to target America is hammering Canadians instead. The punishment isn't landing in Washington. It's landing in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and every small town in between. The backlash is growing faster than Carney can contain it. Headlines scream about an imploding liquor market. Social media is ablaze with photos of empty shelves and angry customers. Distributors are scrambling, trying desperately to redirect supply, but the shelves stay bare. Domestic producers are rushing to fill the void, but Canadians aren't buying it. They know second rate when they taste it. And every sip of a weak substitute is another reminder that their government's so-called bold stand is actually a self-inflicted wound. Carney thought he could frame this as defiance. He thought he could rally Canadians behind a message of national pride, a refusal to bow to American tariffs. But what do Canadians see? Not pride, not strength. They see disorganization, panic, and weakness. They see a government so eager to score political points that it forgot about its own citizens. And the optics are devastating. Trump is calm, collected, and victorious. Carney is red-faced, Furious and losing control? The world is watching, and the world is laughing. This is how miscalculation looks in real time. What was supposed to be a message of strength is being read as a confession of weakness. And the longer this boycott drags on, the more obvious it becomes. Every day that Jack Daniels is missing from shelves is another day. Canadians are reminded that their leaders overplayed their hand. Every empty bottle is a monument to a failed strategy. And the pain isn't going away anytime soon. The weeks following Carney's decision have been nothing short of disastrous. And the cracks are widening. What began as a so-called principled boycott is now collapsing into a full-blown political crisis. Canadian liquor boards are facing mounting anger from both consumers and businesses. Bars are issuing desperate calls for supply. Restaurants are apologizing to customers. And liquor store shelves remain embarrassingly bare. The situation is spiraling, and no one in Ottawa seems to have a plan. Let's not forget why this started in the first place. Donald Trump imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian goods, hoping to pressure Ottawa into concessions in response. Carney thought he could hit back by banning spirits outright. It was supposed to send a message of defiance. Instead, it revealed how dependent Canada actually is on American imports. Liquor stores in Ontario and Quebec are reporting plunges in revenue. Bars are switching to second-rate domestic brands, and patrons are leaving unsatisfied. Even loyal supporters of Carney are quietly admitting that this strategy backfired. And the numbers are brutal. Sales of spirits in Canada didn't just decline, they cratered it. They fell off a cliff. Distributors can't redirect what doesn't exist. Business owners are warning of layoffs, and in some cases, outright bankruptcy. The Canadian consumer is paying the real price. They don't care about the symbolism of a trade boycott. They care about being able to order the drink they've always had. They care about having options, about stability. And right now, Carney's government has ripped that away from them. Meanwhile, Trump is winning without lifting a finger. From Washington, this looks like proof that tariffs are working. American companies are adjusting, shifting their products to other markets. The U.S. isn't suffering. The pain is concentrated entirely in Canada. Trump can stand back, raise a glass, and point to the chaos north of the border as evidence that his policies are succeeding. Every empty Canadian shelf is another propaganda victory for him. The optics couldn't be worse for Ottawa. On one side, Trump confident, calm, and seemingly unaffected. On the other, Carney red-faced, desperate, caught in a storm of his own making. He tried to project strength, but all he's projected is chaos. Instead of appearing as a bold leader, he now looks like a reckless politician who overreached and got burned. Even the liquor companies themselves are slamming the move. Brown-Forman, parent company of Jack Daniels, called Canada's boycott worse than a tariff. That's a devastating indictment from the very industry Carney claimed he was targeting. They can shrug off the loss of 1% of their global sales, but Canadian businesses can't. For them, this is existential, and the government's refusal to admit failure is only deepening the wound. The backlash is not just economic, it's social, cultural, and political. Social media is filled with frustration, disbelief, and outright mockery. Canadians are taking photos of empty shelves, sharing memes, and ridiculing the government's incompetence. The narrative is spinning out of Ottawa's control. What was supposed to be a show of national defiance is now being read as evidence of national weakness. Even Carney's allies are starting to distance themselves. Some provincial leaders are trying to defend the boycott, insisting it shows Canadian strength. But behind closed doors, others are scrambling to quietly soften the blow, trying to find workarounds to keep businesses alive. This public division only makes Canada look even more disorganized. The world is watching a country unable to coordinate its own trade policy, sending mixed messages and bleeding credibility. And the humiliation goes beyond Canadian borders. Other countries are looking at this fiasco and drawing their own conclusions. If Canada can't manage a trade standoff without collapsing into chaos, how can it be trusted as a reliable partner on the world stage? Ottawa wanted to show toughness. Instead, it showed vulnerability. Global confidence in Canada is being shaken, and Carney is the one holding the bag. Every bottle of whiskey pulled from shelves is a reminder of political arrogance. Every frustrated customer is a voter who sees their government putting political theater above practical leadership. And every Canadian business struggling to survive is proof that Carney's tantrum isn't punishing Trump, it's punishing Canadians. The government wanted to send a message to Washington. What it actually sent was a message to its own people. We don't care about you. You're collateral damage. The longer this drags on, the more painful it becomes. Substitutes aren't cutting it. Consumers aren't satisfied. Businesses are drowning. And Carney's image is deteriorating by the day. What was supposed to be his bold stand is now the clearest sign yet that his leadership is collapsing. The boycott is not only failing, it's exposing the very weakness it was designed to hide. In the end, this isn't about Jack Daniels. It's not even about alcohol. It's about competence, credibility, and trust. Carney tried to weaponize Canadian liquor shelves in a trade war, and all he managed to do was light himself on fire. And while Canadians are left with empty bottles and unwanted substitutes, Trump is enjoying the show, watching his opponent unravel. This is political theater turned tragedy, and the curtain hasn't even come down yet. By now, the fallout from Carney's reckless boycott is impossible to ignore. The government wanted a moment of defiance, a chance to show that Canada could stand tall against Trump's tariffs. But instead of demonstrating resolve, Ottawa exposed its own fragility. The liquor shelves of Canada are telling the truth every single day. This plan has collapsed, and the people in charge have no idea how to fix it. The longer the boycott drags on, the more absurd the situation becomes. Liquor stores from British Columbia to Nova Scotia are still scrambling to explain to angry customers why their favorite American brands are gone. Distributors are stuck in the middle, unable to provide what the market demands. Bars are improvising with weak substitutes, apologizing to loyal patrons, and warning that without relief, layoffs are inevitable. These aren't isolated problems, they are systemic failures, rippling across the entire country. The optics are absolutely brutal. On one side, Donald Trump is calm, confident, and even smug, pointing to Canada's empty shelves as proof that his tariffs are working. On the other, Carney is sweating, furious, lashing out in frustration while losing control of the narrative. He thought he could stage a grand political gesture, but instead he handed Trump a propaganda victory on a silver platter. Every empty bottle in Canada is another headline that makes Ottawa look foolish. And let's be crystal clear, this isn't about whiskey anymore. Jack Daniels has become a symbol, but the real story is about government mismanagement, arrogance, and political theater gone wrong. Canadians don't feel empowered by this boycott, they feel betrayed. They feel like pawns sacrificed in a political game that delivers no benefit to them. This was never about protecting Canadian jobs or helping local businesses. It was about Carney's ego, about his desperate need to project toughness in the face of Trump's tariffs. And now, the country is paying the price. Look at the consequences. Businesses are openly warning about layoffs and bankruptcy. Consumers are settling for products they don't want, substitutes that don't satisfy. Social media is a firestorm of outrage and ridicule. Headlines scream about an imploding liquor market, and Carney's allies are starting to fracture, torn between defending the boycott publicly and scrambling privately to repair the damage. This isn't leadership, it's a circus. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is taking notes. International observers are looking at Canada and seeing weakness, division, and poor planning. Ottawa wanted to prove it could stand up to Washington. Instead, it proved that it can't even manage its own shelves. Other governments are asking, if Canada can't handle a simple trade dispute, how can it be trusted in larger international negotiations? The damage to Canada's credibility may last far longer than this boycott. And the worst part, Trump doesn't even need to respond. He doesn't need to escalate. He doesn't need to fire back. He can simply sit back, watch Canada implode, and smile. His tariffs remain in place. American companies are adjusting. Consumers are unaffected. The pain is entirely on the Canadian side of the border. This is the ultimate political checkmate. Carney tried to play tough, and Trump didn't even need to move a piece to win. Every single day this drags on is another day. Canadians are reminded of their government's incompetence. Every empty shelf is a reminder of failure. Every frustrated consumer is a symbol of how badly Ottawa miscalculated. And every headline around the world underscores the same message. Canada overreached, and Carney's tantrum has backfired. When the dust finally settles, what will remain? Not a proud story of Canadian strength, but a cautionary tale of political arrogance. Jack Daniels disappearing from shelves was never about whiskey. It was about exposing the weakness of leadership that prioritizes optics over reality. Carney set out to punish Trump. Instead, he punished Canadians. He wanted to show power. Instead, he revealed fragility. And while Trump raises a glass in victory, Canadians are left staring at empty bottles and wondering why their leaders chose politics over common sense. That's the legacy of this fiasco. A government humiliated, a prime minister weakened, and a nation forced to pay the price for a stunt that never should have happened. This wasn't a boycott. This was political suicide disguised as strategy. And the consequences will haunt Canada long after the whiskey returns to the shelves.